One of our friends asked in the comments when the best time to introduce the closed close frame is when learning international standard. And so I'm going to share how I teach what's worked best for most of my students. That being said, if you're a teacher, your coach does things in a little bit of a different order, it doesn't mean it's wrong. There's more than one way to skin a cat, but here's what I found has worked best for me. So I teach pro-ams and amateur couples a little differently. So I'm going to address those separately. When I am teaching an amateur couple, first, I independently dance each of their parts, and I go through, I'll lead or follow first, really doesn't matter. Okay, here's your heels and toes. Here are your angles. Here's your edges. Here's your turn in, your turn out. Here's your sway. And then I will dance, or will tell the other partner, the lead or the follow, what their part is, okay? At that point, I will have them probably dance it independently just a couple times just to double check that they understand what they're generally supposed to do. Does not have to be perfect. And then at that point, I will dance with the lead and follow separately before I ever have them partner together. And there's a couple of reasons for this. First and foremost, as a pro, you're a seasoned dancer, even if you're, a petite person dancing with a big giant person, I can manipulate them into doing the right thing. Also, we tend to get in lead and follow kind of patterns with our partner. And I want to make sure that one is not manhandling the other. And this could be the lead, this could be the follow. Whereas I know that my students are going to trust me. So when they dance with me, they're definitely, whether it's lead or follow, they're going to follow my sway. They're going to follow my rise and fall. They're going to follow my timing pretty carefully. And that way, when I do partner them up, it's pretty complementary what each of them are doing with each other. Okay, guys? And word to the wise, the connection point is going to vary based on the height of the partnership, the build, the leg length. So depending on the figure, depending on the bodies I am working with, whether it's pro-am or amateur couple, connection could be clear up in this, almost upper sternum versus down really low in the knees. This just depends how people naturally move. And then after they're able to successfully somewhat dance it with me, doesn't have to be perfect, then I will have them dance it together immediately in frame. That being said, I always tell them the first, week or two out of the shoot, please show a lot of grace to your partner because it's going to feel like you're riding some sort of rocky roller coaster. And that's to be expected as just we both kind of learn to separately control how our own body's moving before we can do that really, connected with that person smack dab in front of us. Now, for Pro-Am, I have a little bit of a different approach. So as you know, I'm a huge fan of amateur dancing. And that being said, I also know it is extremely difficult for most people to find an amateur partner. So for those of you doing pro-am, there is some distinct benefits. Number one, I can teach you the entire time. Okay. So when I'm teaching the amateur couple, it's 50-50. So the progress is a little bit slower, not the end of the world. I still highly recommend amateur, but in pro-am, I am just going to ramrod them through, totally focus on their part, their dancing. I'm not adjusting anything to their partner. In fact, I'm adjusting my dancing to what their strengths are and what their body is. That's my job. That's your coach's job. I'm sure they're already doing that for you. So that lesson is definitely be different. Whereas an amateur couple, I'm teaching them to dance with each other. I'm not teaching her ultimately to compete with me and my body type. I'm teaching her to dance with him. So I'll dance quite differently, depending on the amateur partnership. With that pro, I will immediately adjust, whether it's lead or follow. And I do teach single ladies as well. And I will immediately adjust to their body, but I'll do the same basic progress where I'll show them their part. I might have them dance it once or twice in shadow. But when teaching adults, children tend to be quite visual. Adults tend to be quite tactile and a little more mechanical. So when I'm teaching pro-am, most of my pro-ams are leads. And for me, they tend to be pretty highly educated, like engineering, mechanically inclined doctor types. And so I often give a physics explanation as well to them before I ever take hold, because it just seems to sink faster. And so I'll present that, why we're connecting, where we're connecting. And then the first time I physically dance it with them, I will just take a practice hold. And I'm sure you've done this with your pro or your amateur partner, where essentially it's a very loose hold. I'm not even touching bodies yet, perhaps knees, depending on the rotational degree of the figure. But, and I just make sure I'm leading them again through the rise and fall, through who is inside of the turn, who's outside of the turn. And I can really physically manipulate them to pretty much do it right, which again is kind of the benefit of pro-am. And after it feels somewhat like it does not have to be perfect, but when it feels like, okay, they've got the footwork basics swayed somewhat down, even if the sway is jacked up, I'm probably already going to take frame with them close. And so I'll just do it a few times in practice hold. And as soon as I'm confident they have a foundation of those feet, hey, I am butts and elbows in there and I am right up pressed up against them. And I do that when I'm dancing with the amateur couples as well. For me, I'll cuddle right up in there. If it's an amateur couple, I'll cuddle them right up in there. If it's pro-am, I will actually take them definitely in a practice hold first and super manipulate them through. And guys, make sure if you see a visiting coach, just be aware that connection, the amount of pressure to or away from your partner is going to vary greatly for different coaches. And I'm talking about, I've taken from many world finalists, all of them do it a little different. And so just because someone teaches you something different does not mean it's wrong. They're just trying out what they think will work best for you. I highly recommend, if you take from a visiting coach, tell them who your teacher is, because we often kind of know there's kind of different camps in dancing and the way we approach things, and we all kind of are familiar with each other's camps and how certain teachers teach. And as a visiting coach, we want to be complementary to your primary coach. Same thing if someone takes from me in town, they regularly see someone else and they come to me for a one-off. Please tell me who your regular coach is, because I want to teach in a way that is supportive to how I know they're teaching you, just to make the most of your time and money, okay? Because dancing ain't cheap, and I want you to get your money's worth, okay? Now, fair warning, only a couple times in my career, but I have seen this. If you take from multiple local pros who are in competition, so to speak, with each other, money hungry, basically, and I've seen this especially with pro-am, but I've seen it with amateur too. They will deliberately contradict what your pro says to try to make themselves look better. Again, 99% chance this is not happening if your pro gives you contradictory information. But if they come out just guns blazing, oh, that's horribly wrong, it's a little sus to me. And I wouldn't bring it up if I hadn't seen it. Again, odds are very slim, but I have seen it. So I hope that answers your question. And friends, if there's any question you've ever wanted to ask your teacher, hey, shoot me something in the comments, because I'll bet other people are thinking it too. And I know lessons are so expensive. You definitely want to focus your lesson on your own dancing and not, oh, tell me about Blackpool, what gowns are in style or whatever. Because I'm certainly happy to share my experience with you. Also, If something has worked well for you in terms of when you've added connection, please share it in the comments, because I am but one ballroom dancer in a world of ballroom dancers. And there are tons of us here, each of us with a little bit different experience. I love hearing your stories, and your stories are helpful for all of us here on this channel. So thanks for joining me today. And if you like all things ballroom dance, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. And I look forward to seeing you first thing in the morning with another hot ballroom dance tea. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye, guys.